if Iraq breaks up after America departs, what kind of problems will the Turks have with the Kurds?
The Kurdish part of Iraq, well, the northern part of Kurdistan anyways, was a province of Turkey. All of the Kurds in Turkey who are giving them trouble, they have refuge in northern Kurdistan. Dividing Iraq into three, which is what being pushed by, what's his first name? Galbraith's son. You know, John Kenneth Galbraith, the economist, his son, what's his name? I call it the young Galbraith, but it actually has a name, right? Stephen, I think, I don't know. He has been an advisor, actually a paid agent for Kurdistan, and has been writing articles and so on in the press, pretending as if he's speaking as just an expert. And he has been advocating the declaration of that area as a state. In practice, we have made them a state now for almost since 1992, so that's what, 15, 16 years? They are a separate people. So you could actually say that it's possible to spin them off, but if you do, there are Kurds in Iran, there are Kurds in Syria, and there are Kurds in Turkey. The number in Turkey is larger, and they are the ones who are a problem. Turkey is not going to be happy about that, and they have threatened to go to war with them unless the Kurds on this side, straighten it out. There are also Turks in that area, and they have been there for a long, long time because, as I said, that actually was forget the name of the big city. That area was a Turkish province, and the British, when they were drawing the line, deliberately put it in Iraq, even though it was always a province of Turkey. So that's a problem. The rest of Iraq, I don't believe can be divided. Forget about Shia, this and that. They are Arabs. They have always lived in peace with each other. Political adjustments have to be made, no question, because the person who held them together by force, namely Saddam, is gone. But it's impossible to divide them because they're too mixed up. And there are intermarriages, and you cannot actually do it unless someone says to them by force, we are going to sit on your heads for 50 years, we are going to draw the line and have what is called a population transfer, okay? It was proposed for Pakistan and India at one time. It just can't happen. So that's what I think.
Was Kuwait ever part of the Ottoman Empire? And what was the problem that Iraq had with Kuwait in the first place?
Well, the first one is very easy. Yes, they were a part of the Ottoman Empire. The second thing before you go to the other one is to, when was Kuwait as Kuwait created and who drew the boundary? I forget the actual year, but the historians may remember. When the British were forced by circumstances to leave that whole coastal area, which they kept after everybody was getting independent, and they decided to leave, they had to create entities to leave. So Kuwait was created as a state, and the United Arab Emirates were a whole bunch of states that had to form a federation. And then Qatar separately, and then Muscat and Oman, okay, and so on. Kuwait historically was a fishing village. Okay, so it existed only this little village on the coast. Well, that's not a state, so they had to draw boundaries. And you just look on the map, so they drew a line like that, a line like that. They kind of created a rhombus, okay, a small rhombus, but it is not really a square. And the lines they drew took some of the territory away from Saudi Arabia and some from Iraq. So to begin with, they were created by carving out pieces from the other thing to create a state. The problem with Iraq was that one of the largest well from which they were drawing, the mouth was in Kuwait, but the well was actually in Iraq. And that was the largest one they had. And Iraq decided to push, because this had been known for a long time, and said, it's our oil, stop drawing it. And that was the beginning of the dispute. The thing was that it actually was being negotiated. And there were meetings, there were intermediaries, Saudi Arabia was in it, and so on. And it appeared to everybody, other than Saddam Hussein. We have no idea what Saddam Hussein was thinking. But everybody else who was involved say, we actually had an agreement, they were just final little things, and Saddam had agreed that he would do this. And this story goes that our ambassador went to visit Saddam Hussein. Yes. And at least gave him the impression, because her words were something like, it's an internal affair, we are not going to interfere in it. I don't know the exact words because I haven't read the cables. But he interpreted that as a green light. And that is that's how he started it. And that is actually where Osama bin Laden comes in too, because when he came in, everybody wanted him to get out. And of course he didn't want to leave because he says, well, this was a part of Iraq anyways, so I'm not going to give it up. And Osama went to the royal family and said, look, I know a lot of these mujahideen from all over the place, I can gather them and force Iraq out. And the royal family says, forget it. We have friends called Americans, we'll get them in here. Anyway, so that's the Kuwait story.
If Turkey would admit to the Armenian genocide,
Yeah.
would their chances of getting into NATO increase? First question.
Okay.
Sorry.
In what?
He meant the European
Union.
Turkey should admit, just as a matter of fact as well as general ethics, that that genocide happened. And after all, it happened during the Ottoman period, so they can just blame it on the Ottomans. But as a political matter, they cannot admit that they did that. Because they have always said there are other facts, and no one wants to sit down and listen to the other facts. I really, from my personal point of view, it will be nice if everyone puts all the facts on the table and let the facts speak for themselves. But it's not going to happen because the Armenian community in the US has a big voice, and they don't want to listen to the other story, and the Turks cannot admit for political reasons what happened. So let them, the stuff that they talk about, which no one has seen that I know of, put it on the table so we can talk about it. So I don't think they can admit it. But even if they did, they are not going to get admitted to the Soviet Union, to the European Union. Even the Pope has opposed it. The European Union has been declared to be a union of Christian culture, if not Christian religion, and Turks are not Christians. So that made it longer than I could have just said no.